Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Nick here, and welcome to my reaction to Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 5, The Story and the Engine. Although I think the story engine would also have worked just as well, knowing what the engine is. Um, so, this episode is written by Inu Hulum, probably butchered that name, who also cameos in the episode as a market stall dealer guy. And it's basically if because he wrote a stage show called The Barber Shop, so it's basically what if the Barber Shop was in the Doctor Who universe. It's set in the Doctor Who universe. It's the place where Nigerian people, specifically men, can go and hang out, chat, um, and be have a good time. Basically, a bit like what we're here in the UK. We have social clubs or pubs, stuff like that. They go to the barbers to have their good times and catch up with mates whilst also getting their hair done. But this particular barbershop, owned by a friend of the doctor's, has been taken over by this mysterious man known as the Barber. And he has captured the doctor's friend and three other men, and he and a woman called Abby are taking them across the World Wide Web, and not the one that we know. It's another World Wide Web on the back of a giant spider, crossing into dimensions. Um, and then I will admit, I did find it a little bit tricky to follow on some of the things in this episode, but maybe on the second viewing, I'll be able to follow it a bit clearer, as I'll probably be watching it on the laptop downstairs with headphones on, whilst here we're watching it on telly. So might be able to hear the dialogue a little bit better, make it a bit clearer. But without going into spoilers, the gist of it is that the barber used to be employed by the gods, implied to be the pantheon. As we got a little glimpse of Lux, the electric light theatre from that episode. Um, and he goes on about being all like the god of stories and so forth, and pretends to be a whole bunch of other gods, including Anansi. By the way, Anansi is not the villain of this story, as people speculated. Quite a few things people kind of predicting for this episode didn't happen. One or two things did. Um, but some other wings, such as Anansi being the big villain, and that was the spider, not entirely true. Although Abby did turn out to be Anansi's daughter that he tried to bet off um, into marriage. But as for Anansi themselves, other than a brief glimpse of the barber claiming to be them, um, they weren't the big bad of this episode, nor was the barber a Time Lord, a fellow Time Lord that some people speculated, or a new incarnation of the Master. So, yeah, for this episode, some speculations didn't turn out true. One thing that people did kind of theorize might happen, or said might be happening prior to the episode going on to iPlayer, that did happen, did come true, and I'll try not to spoil it for people who haven't seen the episode yet, but I know a lot of people already have been talking about it. And guys and girls, at least the British ones, can you please hold off on talking about an episode? If you've seen it 8 a.m. BBC iPlayer or after, please hold off on doing public talking stuff until after the BBC One broadcast. I actually kind of got a little bit spoilt for this episode, and something that could have been a really great, shocking surprise. And I found out about it by accident. Same with the Well Being the Midnight sequel. I mean, like, I mean, okay, try you could there you can do ways that you can still put out videos and messages that aren't too spoilery, but okay, but next three episodes especially have to be spoiler free for the BBC One or after crowd. Okay, like I mean, I try to make these things not too spoilery as much as I can because of the episode just airing that day or day before or whatever, whenever I'm doing the reactions or uploading them, and then I'm more spoilery in the review because the reviews are more spoilery. Discuss the stories more there. Um, but yeah, I know some people. I mean, you don't have to watch the videos, but if when people start putting all near spoilery stuff in the titles of videos, like "OMG, she's back," "OMG, I can't believe they did this," "OMG, it's a sequel to this story," Um, so it is the surprise sequel, and so on. It's like you're almost about to spoil the episode without talking about it. You're about to spoil it, and if it's going out before the broadcast, like especially since the broadcasts are still drawing in most of the audience, as far as the BARB figures are apparently claiming that more people are actually watching the episode on broadcast than prior to broadcast. So yeah, maybe put those videos out after 8 p.m. or hold off on the more spoilery posts on Twitter or Discord till later. And I know we have to try and avoid those wanting to watch the episodes later instead of at 8 a.m. or at midnight on iPlayer. We try to avoid that, but sometimes it happens by accident. I was uploading some videos to the bonus content channel and I accidentally saw some tweets. I mean, like, ah! So, yeah, I mean, we're trying to avoid the spoilers as best we can, but sometimes it happens by accident. So you guys got to help out with that by maybe saving content for later. Robot Revolution, that was absolutely perfect. That was handled perfectly. I think most of all of the responding content to that I saw had come out either during or after the BBC One broadcast. This is specifically for UK audiences. Internationally, they don't have to be restricted by this. Although, again, do be aware of spoilers for anyone else who hasn't checked it out yet. Not everybody would have checked it out on Disney Plus at the same time either. So do always you guys be aware of that as well. But this is specifically a call for the British audiences and the Irish as well, if they get on iPlayer too. A specific call for you guys and girls. Please, especially for the next 3 episodes, which are apparently going to be the biggest 3 in terms of reveals. So, but anyway, yeah. So Barbush, story and the engine. So I didn't really have much expectations going into this one. I think besides the Robot Revolution, this is the one I was least excited for and went in with the least knowledge about because I'm not too familiar with Nigerian culture and stories. But I was looking forward to learning about some of that and seeing how it would play out in the episode. And yeah, I think it was handled really well. I really liked that they showed the art drawings animation on the side of the wall to display stories that people were telling. That was really great, and I really like how the mythology kind of ties in with it. This is why a lot of people thought Nancy was going to be the main villain, along with Nancy being a big spider, was because he was the god of stories in Nigerian and African culture. Um, sort of does weave itself in with Abby's character, but in terms of Anansi themselves, like I said, it's not them, not this time. Um, by the way, I think this is the 4th episode I can think of where I mean, it's not the main villain itself, but they do deal with spiders. In this episode, this is the 4th one I can think of. Do comment down below if you can think of any others, but the other ones I'm thinking of are Planet of the Spiders, of course, with the 8 legs on Metabilis 3. The Rachnos, and specifically the Empress in The Runaway Bride, and the giant spiders that were made bigger by pollution in Arachnids in the UK. And now we've got the spider in the web, the barber's web, his engine sort of thing. Do comment if there was spiders in any other TV story, not audio, as the Metabilis spiders and the Rachnos have turned up in audio a few times as well, and also expanding some of the books and comics. So yeah, expanding media, some of the spider creatures, including returning Metabilis, 8 legs, and or Rachnos. In terms of the TV stories, I think these are the only 4 I can think of right now. Funny enough, the Web Planet and the Web of Fear stories with web in their title don't feature spiders. Other insect creatures are in Web Planet, and Web of Fear features the Yeti and the Great Intelligence. The web is just kind of a sort of something they use for some reason. But yeah, I think this story works really well it's a mostly practical story, apart from when they do show the spider and going out the doors, plus the images on the wall, and some of the special effects later on. But I think this episode works as a very mostly practical episode, and I like how most of it is in specifically one room with a small number of core characters. But as well, you've also got the market scenes with a lot of extras. Although the one scene where Anula Edebs, his market dealer's character, has a cameo, I feel that scene could have been cut or trimmed down because there's a bit like it looks like Belinda's getting into a bit of trouble and maybe in trouble with the police after that. But then she ends up in the alleyway where a mysterious girl then says, "Don't go down there. People disappear." So forth. Says it non-verbally. So I feel like that scene could have maybe been trimmed down or cut down. I can understand Belinda maybe causing some trouble in the market, but I think that could have been maybe adjusted a little bit. It just felt like a bit of a questionable moment for me. But there wasn't really too much of that. I think that was still. I think the market stuff was really good for the few scenes that they were in. But I really liked that it was mostly there was 6 other characters that the Doctor and Belinda interacted with outside of the market scenes, and it was mostly in one room. Another room for the engine, and a bit of a maze to look around, although that was a bit quick. And yeah, it's a mostly practical episode, I'd say. Besides the stories on the wall, some of the effects later on, and anything with the spider creature. And also the engine brain and heart itself was a bit CG, but yeah, it works really well. Also, like Rogue, this is another episode where the Doctor's like, "Oh, by the way, I've had lots of faces, lots of lives. Here's, I'd say almost all of them. I think Seven and War were the only 2 missing, but they might have been on the screen in the background and we couldn't really tell. Also, Fugitive, but Fugitive appears in this episode in another way. Again, I will discuss more in the review, although let's just say it was probably less than I expected after seeing something on Twitter by mistake. Yeah, this episode works really well. This is a really good episode. I don't really have a huge amount to talk about it right now. I think I need to watch it again, and hopefully I'll understand what's going on a bit more that time. It wasn't really so much the Nigerian culture stuff I didn't understand. It was like, what is actually going on? What's the like? I think I got the barber's plan. Like he wants to get revenge of the gods and get revenge for Abby, and they escape the Nancy. But yeah, other than that, it was still kind of a little bit tricky to follow at the time. But hopefully on the next viewing, it might be a bit easier to follow. It's something similar happened with Robot Revolution, but I think that one was a bit more simple in terms of its story rather than this one. But I think this one's, I think just another watch, and we might be a bit clearer on what's going on a bit more. But it still works. Also, I think this might be the first this and Lucky Day actually might be the first couple of episodes in a while where nobody dies. I think, and possibly also 73 yards, but that was an alternative timeline. So I think these might be these 2, and Lucky Day, not Lucky Day, that was last week's. 73 yards are the first few to not feature a character death, any character at all. So that's a little bit of a spoiler. No character apart from the big spider, if you even count that. Nobody dies in this episode. So did Stephen Moffat get his hands on this script? I'm kidding, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, yeah, it's a really good episode. It carries on season 2 streaks of back-to-back great episodes. I think they have been getting weaker since Lux, but still within that stronghold. But Lux is my favorite episode, so of course I'm going to think that. But yeah, I think each one, Lux, I like Lux more than that. Like the Well more than Lucky Day, and I like Lucky Day more than this one. But I like all 4 more than Robot Revolution and Joy to the World. That latter one I like more than Robot Revolution. I must be one of the very few people who does. But yeah, so I think other than Robot Revolution, not being as good as Lux. I think each episode hasn't. I think the previous episode was better than the last. But that's okay. That's fine. That doesn't mean the series is bad. It means it's just I've got a preference. So it actually makes my ranking so far at this point in time, the ranking very easy. Even before rewatching this episode, let alone the last three. So that actually makes my season 2 ranking, as of the first viewing of this episode, really easy. But also that means I can say it's a really good streak, especially from Lux onwards. Even if I think they're not as good as that one, I think they're getting weaker compared to it. But it's still a fairly good streak of really good episodes. Coupled that with the other two, the opener and the Christmas special. Again, more so for me for the Christmas special rather than in general. But yeah, it's been a really great season so far. We're halfway through. We've got 3 more episodes left. Interstellar Song Contest is next, and then Wish World and the Reality War. Woo! Those are going to be big. But yeah, Story in the Engine. Yeah, don't really have a huge amount to talk about right now, without maybe going into a bit of spoiler territory, or maybe critiquing a few bits more. But I'll rewatch it again. I'll hopefully get it out the review out a bit sooner for this time round, because last week, again, as I mentioned, I was wondering if I was going to help out the show, and if I wasn't, I'll go and see it. So that's why the Lucky Day review's a bit later than some of the other ones were. The Lux review, pardon me if you heard me burp a little bit by just there. The Lux review I tried to get that one out mid to later in the week to tie in with the Universals, whilst Robot Revolution and The Well was sort of like, Robot Revolution was in preparation for that, and The Well was just keeping that streak going. But as for this one, I'll try and get it out more in the middle of the week, because I'll be a bit busier later in the week. So I'll try and get back on track. And then we've got the Interstellar Song Contest, which I might actually try and get out for my birthday if I'm lucky. But that means the opposite to Lucky Day. I have to watch the episode again much earlier in the week rather than much later. So yeah, so I suppose this is sort of the midway of that. And then the finale, I'll try and see. I'll watch episode 7 again within that week leading up to the episode 8, but the review will be done within the week after episode 8. So, and then I'm going to watch the whole series again for the ranking. Well, I'm not quite sure if I'll do it well, but well, actually, yeah, I'll throw that one in as well. Anyway, so that's my reaction to the Story in the Engine. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later in the week for the review of this story. And then next week, hopefully the football won't overrun and they can show it on BBC One, the Interstellar Song Contest. See you guys next time. Reaction, the Interstellar Contest. See you guys next time. Goodbye.